Girl, you dey complete my life. Sometimes boy, you make out shy.
Thank you for everyone watching and tuning in to this installment of Imprint. Today we have Lesley, and I'm going to allow her to talk a little bit about who she is, what she does, and why. So, Lesley, thank you for being featured in this Imprint installment.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Can you talk a little bit about who you are? I know that's kind of general, but who you are,
Mhm.
where you're from, your cultural background, what you do, some of your interests. That'd be nice.
Okay, I will try to remember all of that. But I am Lesley Asare. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I feel like that's an easier term to use to cover all of the things that I do. But to break that down a little bit, I paint, I create costumes that transform to tell stories, I create performance, I create jewelry, and there's something else that I do. Oh, and I also hold space for people to connect to themselves through art. Where am I from? I was born in London. Excuse me, I was born in London, but I now live in Milton Keynes, which is like 45 minutes outside London. So not that hard to commute back into London for when I miss it. And where am I from? Done that. My general interests. I love licorice tea. Like I love it. I don't know if any of you out there love licorice tea, but I'm pretty sure you don't love it as much as I do.
What's
um,
licorice tea?
Licorice tea, you've never had licorice tea? Like the root of licorice, you need to check it out.
It
You need to check it.
sounds interesting.
It's like really sweet and warming, but everybody else that I like try to get in, like I'm like, yeah, try this, try this. They're like, no, it's horrible. So it's just for me. Anyway, I love going for walks. I love sharing space with like my people. Like the general things. I like journaling and making space for my self-care. Um, yeah, I guess that's a brief snippet about me.
That was licorice tea. I'm gonna look more into that.
You need to. It will change your life. And I need you to get back to me and let like how it is because it will change your life.
Okay.
You can get it in variations like peppermint and licorice. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you for changing my life already. So you said something that was interesting. You said that you like to hold spaces to allow people to connect to themselves through art. Did I hear
hmm
you correctly? Can you
hmm
go a little bit more into that? Because I've never heard anyone say anything like that.
hmm
Again, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, but
No,
I
no,
can't
no.
articulate my
It's
words. But
good.
it's
I've
just
got you.
I feel like I understand what you're saying, but the way that you said it was so new to me. So if you could just expound upon that, that would be great.
Okay. Well, my artistic journey has kind of really been a journey. Like I've done a lot of different things, but I think at the center of everything that I have done, I've created to express. I've created to connect to myself, and I find art to be such a powerful tool to enable one to release things that maybe they don't have the words for, or release things that maybe um, they don't really have the space to share in any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and through my whole journey, I've that's been the constant, like connecting to express or connecting to question or connecting to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
And I am part of a collective called I Shape Beauty that I run and created with a dear friend of mine, Indigo Williams, and she's a spoken word poet and educator. And together we hold spaces for women, and so far it's been women of color, um, to connect to themselves through poetry, art. So yeah, that I really just find spaces where you're able to express things that you've never really expressed before. Safe spaces, I must say, like safe spaces to connect to parts of yourself that maybe you haven't acknowledged before, or you know that it's always been in there, but you know you've never had an outlet. I'm really interested in those spaces. I've been really supported personally by those spaces, so I'm really passionate about creating those spaces in my own work and within I Shape Beauty as well.
Could you talk a little bit about the creation of Ashe BT? Because you say it, like, you say that you founded, you're part of this probably impressive, great collective. And I know that a lot of people listening, or a lot of people out there, have aspirations of their own, but they don't necessarily know how to start it, or there's not a lot of transparency from my experience, from people who do these great things about the process or the journey. They just show you the end result, and it can be a little bit discouraging to see someone, you know, your age or younger, it doesn't even matter about age, but doing something great and not having any kind of insight as to how they begun or the process.
Well, I love that you said that, because everything about what I do is about the process. Like, I think there's a line on my website that talks about I do all of these different things and I make all these different things, but the process is more important than the end result. So, about the process of I Shape Beauty, it's been it's been interesting, but to be honest, I Shape Beauty is a reflection of our friendship. Um, in many ways, it began 8 years ago, but officially, we created this collective like a year or two ago. Um, and I guess we're just really intuitive people, and we are really always reflecting on ourselves, reflecting on how something that maybe might have happened to us has made us feel, and why did we respond to things in that way. Do you know what I mean? To get to the root of why we operate in certain ways. So I think the creation of I Shape Beauty has just been about us connecting to ourselves, and evolving as women. And by doing that, wanting to create the space for other women to do that as well. So really, it's just a reflection of our friendship and the journey of our friendship over 8, 9, 10 years. And we use our artistic mediums as forms of expression, to communicate where we're at in our lives, things that we're exploring personally, and then also wanting to hold the space for other women of color to explore those same things, you know? Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And
Okay.
to me, I think it's just interesting, like, and I know that people are different, they have different skill sets, they have different aspirations, but there are some people that would be content in having that process, not in private, but not, they wouldn't create a whole platform for other, you know, women of color to share an experience, or to maybe even, you know, incite their own journey or process. So it's just interesting to me when I have conversations with people that do go the route that they do, what led them to do it, and, you know, just the process. So speaking of the process, could you share a little bit about some of the setbacks that you experienced in creating this collective? I know.
Well, setbacks. I think there are two that are springing to mind. Like, well, personally in my work, I think the major setback has been self-doubt and fear. And I find fear to be such a crippling energy, such a crippling thing, that it prevents you from connecting with other people. It prevents you from putting yourself out into the world. It prevents you from really owning your space and taking up space and creating and expressing. It just kind of makes you shrink and hide. And you're not able to see yourself clearly. You're not able to see opportunities clearly, you know. So I think in my work, and also in relation to I Shape Beauty, I think that has been one of the major setbacks. Yeah.
What would you, when you say fear, what would you say the fear of what, or fear from what?
Fear of it's so ironic because there is the desire to take up space, but then there is also the fear of what it means to take up space
Yeah.
and take responsibility for yourself, for your actions, to be seen, fear of being judged. Um, all of these little things, and I think another major one is like the fear of not being enough,
Mm.
delusion we are not enough or that I am not enough, and it's just through that element, it's just the most liberating thing. It's the most liberating thing, and it's a process. Obviously, there will be things that always come up in your life, but to jump that hurdle, it's like freedom.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you talk about creating the space and then you say, but there's still that fear asking yourself, am I enough? And I just think
Mm-hmm.
that's a question that a lot of women of color ask themselves that I feel like no other
Mm-hmm.
demographic has to ask themselves because they feel like of course they're enough. Of course people want to hear what I have to say, see who I am. Of course. So I've heard that on so many different accounts from amazing women of color, and I just think it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely, I agree.
So what are your hopes for yourself as a creative? Like essentially, if you look back on what you're doing now, 5 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
what would you have hoped to have accomplished? And not even just in the terms of a career, but how can you measure, your success by impact or people that reach out to you or influence?
Oh, this is a big one.
I know. Sneaker.
I what would my success look like in the next 5? It's funny, I've been thinking about this a
Mm-hmm.
lot because I used to be so career driven, like, oh, I've got to do this, and I've got all these like crazy goals
Mm-hmm.
that I found at a certain time they didn't really serve me, they kind of just put pressure on me, unnecessary pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, what would success look like for me in 5 years? I would like to be consistently making work, um, and for that work to consistently bring me a financial income, for there to be that financial blessing. I would like to develop the spaces that I hold for people to connect to themselves through art. So maybe establish myself as an arts counselor or work in that field to some level. I'm still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Did you say
Um,
an art counselor?
I'm not, no, but I'm really interested in the ability of art to enable people to express themselves. So it's kind of like an underlying thread through my work.
Yeah.
But it's not like an official. I don't have the stamp.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
so yeah, we'll see what the next 5 years hold and,
Okay.
and reveal. I would like to. I would like I Shape Beauty to work internationally with different organizations, to work with different women all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would like to create work that resonates with people, that is authentic, that enables someone else to live their highest truth and to live in their purpose. I would like to create work that inspires that. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that vague? Hopefully
No,
not.
it's not vague. And sorry I asked it in the way that I did. It was a little unfair of me, but it's just interesting. Like, I just, whenever I have these conversations with people, I just like to see where they're going because what they
Mhm.
do is so great for the here and now. So I just like asking, if you continue your work and you continue to be successful and reaching people the way that you are, where, what is success or like even success
Oh,
is
I've
such a
got another
corporate
thing.
word.
I've got another thing to add to success. Like
Yeah.
it is a corporate word,
Yes, it
and
is.
success to me is also having the time and space to spend time with the people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Success to me is knowing myself and knowing when I need space, when I need a break. Success to me is self-care, is giving myself the time and space to do nothing. Because I feel a lot of the time we think doing nothing is laziness or like we're being unproductive. But for me, making space to just be is really important for my well-being. So that is also success to me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the cherry
Yeah.
cake that I left off.
Well, in 5 years, I'll check back in and see if
Yeah, please
you're
do.
successful. No, that's appreciate that. And I actually realized that when I asked about your setbacks, I forgot to ask about your triumphs. So, what are some major triumphs that you experienced?
Triumphs. Okay. Um, in all honesty, the first one that was coming to mind is to still be making work, you know, because like with the setback, that I was talking about fear and like self-doubt and stuff like that, to be continuing is major for me. And it is like an affirmation and a confirmation that this is my purpose, you know, that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because every time that I'm just about to stop and think, oh, let me just go do something else, even though I know good and well that there isn't anything else I can be doing, then an opportunity comes or a door opens or I meet someone or you email me, you know, so like, yeah, that is a major triumph, to be creating and to be working with others, to create. I'm currently working as an artist in residence in a school at the moment, a secondary school, and it's amazing to see students' skills develop, you know. So for me, that's another triumph. I Shape Beauty being commissioned by the Body Narratives last year to create a piece of work called The Secrets Women Keep. That was another triumph. That project explored body image and women of color and their relationship to their bodies and their journeys to healing and owning themselves through poetry and body sculptures. Shout out to Hannah, I love you,
Shout
and
out
the Body
Hannah.
Narratives team. I've got love for you. um, but yeah, that was another triumph. And another one that is coming to mind is getting the Harold Tillman Scholarship to do my master's. And that was in 2010. So I did my master's in costume design. And that course was about creating performance installations where the garments transform to tell stories. So it wasn't just about learning how to sew or to dress pieces for stage and for theatre, and for film, which I did in my BA. This was about telling stories through clothing, and that's where I really found myself in a way. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I mean, it was hard while I was there, but now I can really appreciate what that time gave me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, do you think that your cultural background has had any influence on your work? And if so, what has that influence been like to you?
I think definitely as I am aging and I am owning myself as a black woman and I'm understanding what it means, because you know when you're younger you just kind of like roam around the world and you feel certain things and you experience certain things, but you don't necessarily have the vocabulary to really understand and to communicate about some of the things that you experience. But definitely I would say my heritage has impacted my work over the past 5 years, I think. So I am from Ghana. I was born in the UK, but I'm from Ghana, just in case nobody knows. Yeah, so my Ghanaian heritage grounds me, I think. It gives me, I'm really proud of it. It fills me with pride. I'm inspired by all the craft and the artistic skills Ghana, like all the weaving and the jewelry making. And when I was in Ghana last year, I learned how to make beaded jewelry, and just the handiwork of Ghana, it's amazing. So I consider myself to be a maker, and my hands are like really important to me. So I feel like I'm channeling my heritage by with through all the things that I make.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think as I'm evolving as well, I'm also exploring what it means to be Black British. So to have my Ghanaian heritage, but to have been raised in Britain, and what that fusion means, and how it colors my work. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Hmm.
But I would say it definitely impacts me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Could you actually tell? There's something interesting that you said, and I meant to ask you about it a few minutes ago, but you talked about telling stories through costumes.
Hmm.
Could you go a little bit more into that? Because as soon as you said that, forgive me, but I thought of what is the movie called? Mockingjay or Mockingbird?
Okay.
Is it something like that, or is it what is
I
that?
think it's like so. I'm really interested in visual forms of communication. So ways that we can communicate without using words.
Mm.
Um, and my MA was all about having a piece of text that we pick a moment from, and pick a character from, and then tell their story. So it's not necessarily the whole piece, but we pick a moment and we break that down into how a story can be told through clothing. So how can maybe a woman's life cycle be communicated through a garment?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it the garment will start in one form, but then it may unravel to talk about freedom or
Hmm.
something that she was carrying and she's offloaded.
Hmm.
And all of those, everything within the story impacts the fabric that you choose, impacts the color of the costume, because all of these things hold meaning. Um, so, yeah, I'm really passionate about exploring that further. Since I graduated, I haven't had the chance to go back to that because I've been doing so many other things.
Yeah.
Been coming back lately that I need to dip my hand in that pool again. But that's essentially what it is. Thinking about how I can communicate something on a garment, on a body, in space, and how is that read? How do people receive that message? So those are the things that I've been thinking about recently.
Do you have visuals like video or images to share?
Yeah, I have images on my website of
Okay.
some of the pieces that I've done, so you can check some of them
Definitely will
out
check it
there.
out. That sounds amazing. Okay. And then lastly, I just wanted to ask because I know that a lot of times when we publish these imprint videos, people talk about how inspired they are, how they appreciated the content. So if there's a young girl or a young boy or young anyone or an old anyone watching
Hmm.
this and they're like, wow, Lesley is amazing. I want to be like her. Do you have any words of advice for that person? A lot of times people share that they're hesitant to pursue their dream for XYZ, whatever
Hmm.
number of reasons. I'm not going to call them excuses, but reasons.
Hmm.
So, yeah, do you have any words of advice for anyone that's looking to leave their own mark?
Advice. I would say, I think I would advise advise people to be authentic, to connect to what is the highest truth within you. What do you believe you are here for? Because I think we are all here to serve a need.
Mm.
There is a need on this earth that we're here to serve. So if you're able to connect to that, then my advice would be to honor that why, um, and offer what you have in service. I think everything on the earth is in service to something else. The trees give us air to breathe, you know, like the bees create honey for us, you know, like everything serves something else. So connect to what you feel you're here for, what your purpose is, and honor that. And once you let go of all the fears and all the doubts and everything that is telling you that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it, once you honor your purpose, everything else falls into place.
Mm.
That's not to say that the journey won't be difficult, but I think there is this misconception that difficulty or pain is something to run from. I feel like struggling to a certain extent teaches us things.
Mm.
You know, there are lessons in every experience. So that's not to say that once you're honoring your purpose that it won't be hard. It will be hard, but there are lessons in every experience. So yeah, live authentically and find your why.
So do you have suggestions for how people can find their why? Because I know a lot of people struggle with purpose, like why am I here? If they don't have maybe like a religious reason or whatever other reason, a lot of people when they exit college and enter, I guess, the real world, they struggle with that. So maybe how did you find your why, or what are some ways in which you've seen other people find their why?
Why? How have I found? Okay, so how I found my why might be might not be that helpful, but I think I just wait. Like I've learned when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, I told my mom that I was going to be a designer and my designer brand's going to be called Lesley Asare. And that's really not the case. Oh, sorry, 1 second. My phone was ringing. That is not the, well, I don't consider myself to be a fashion designer, but I do work with ways, so that happened. Yes, I know. I've always known, but how can somebody else find their purpose? I think it's a lot simpler than we think it is. It's a lot simpler than we make it out to be. We think it's got to be this really deep, difficult journey that we climb up a mountain to find it, and that's not to say that it can't be. But I feel like it's simple. What brings you joy? What can you not see yourself not doing? When you're not doing that thing, like, how do you feel? How do you feel when you're not doing that thing? Can you imagine yourself not doing that thing for the rest of your life? And simply that will be the thing that you're supposed to be doing. That will be the thing. And if you find that thing and begin to explore it, more will unfold. But I feel like it's that simple. I feel like it's that simple. And also, I would suggest trying things out. Try things. If you've got an inkling like you're interested in that, just do it. Because the learning and the understanding is through the doing. Don't sit thinking about it. Don't be like, I think I could be doing this. Because that's when you talk yourself out of it. Right. That's when you begin to doubt. And that's when fear and all these lies come in. You know, you just do it. Get up, be active, be proactive, and the more things you try, you'll find out, no, I'm not about that. No, I'm not about that. This is what I want to do, you know? So be active. It's really simple. What do you love to do? And run with it, I think.
Thank you for that. I love that you said it's simple, and a lot of times we try to complicate it and make it seem like this hard, this hard journey. Like, oh my gosh, who am I? Appreciate that.
No, so but I completely understand that as well. But it doesn't need to be like that. Right. It doesn't need to be that difficult.
Right. There's so many authors that want to disagree with you so they can sell their books about finding your life's purpose and being Oprah's favorite things. That's what they want. That's what they want. Can you share your social media links and your websites so that people can find you and the amazing stuff that you're doing?
Sure. Okay, so website-wise, my personal website is www.lesleyasare.com. So that's LESLEYASARE.com. And then for my iShape Beauty work, www.ishapebeauty.co.uk. And you can also find iShape Beauty on Twitter and Instagram. And for my personal Instagram, it's Layasland. So LAYASLAND. God, that was hard. And that's where you can find like my creative process and the projects that I'm working on. But that's pretty much me. Oh, on Twitter I am Lesley. No, I am LAYAX03.
Okay.
Hopefully we could like write that somewhere
I'll
because
provide
that's
it.
a lot of stuff.
All right. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you. This has been
Thank you for
great.
having me.
Don't you
Thank
love
you.
the internet?
I
It's
do.
amazing.
Connecting people from like all over the place.
I
I love it.
know.
I
I
love it.
know.
Thank you so much for contacting me and holding this space. It's been lovely.
Appreciate it. And I always mess up on this part. Oh, I always tell people to wave. I forgot to tell you to wave before, so when I say this,
Oh,
can you wave? No, it's okay.
oh,
And
you too.
that concludes this installment of Imprint. Bye.
You're my everything.